Father and God, we're grateful for this day which you created, for the life that you give us and sustain and keep, that we might bring honor and glory to your name. Pray that all the services that go on in your house this day will be pleasing to you, bring honor to your name. Pray that you be with our brothers and sisters around the world as the day rolls forth and as they gather together to worship you. Pray that you would be pleased with the worship of your people. Pray that you purify us by the blood of your Son, in whose name we pray. Okay, today we're going to start with verbs. The only other grammatical portion we could have done before moving into verbs was pronominal suffixes. We pretty much have the noun system down in the lessons that we've gone over. I think it's 13. So today we're going to cover verbs and just a few introductory remarks. The Hebrew verbal system may seem a bit intimidating. You might be inwardly chuckling if you found some of this to be intimidating all along. But the Hebrew verbal system is very, very regular, especially in its most basic sense, which is the cow tense. We're going to learn 6 Hebrew verb tenses. There are a few more, but they're extremely rare. Some of them appear only with one type of word, with one word. And so if you see that one word, you're going to know that it's the hishtafel verb tense, because it's that word that always gets conjugated that way. We're going to cover the cow, the nifal, the pial, the pual, the hitpael, and the hifil. I love names in Hebrew, how they name all their stuff. And as we begin to conjugate the verbs, you will see that the names for the verbs are reflective of the vowels that are used in the patterns for the verbs. So that makes the names easy to remember. And also, if you see these vowels conjugated in this way, one thing, that's a PL. It's got the here and the serre underneath the first 2 ground form consonants. But the tense we're going to cover today is called the cow, and it's spelled Q-A-L. We have some special propping action going on back here, so I got to be light on the board. But it's called the cow, Q-A-L, and the Hebrew word cow smoosh the lamed there. If you want to add the word cow to your vocabulary, you can. It means light or unencumbered. And that helps you think about the tense cow. It is the most basic Hebrew verb tense. It's active in voice, and it accounts for actually 2/3 of the verbs in the Hebrew Bible. There are 72,000 verbs, almost 72,000 verbs in the Hebrew Bible. 50,699 of them are in the cow tense. So almost 70% of all verbs in the Hebrew Bible are in the cow. So learning the cow, if you want to make use of the Hebrew, few things are more essential than learning the cow verbal system. If I had $1 for every time I had to write out, or chose to write out just for the sake of memorizing, the cow strong verb paradigm, me and Rebecca, we could, not we want to, move to Malibu or Beverly Hills, real nice neighborhoods for all the times I've had to write these things out. And I had to do it for coursework, so it's up to you how much you want to learn it. But if you really want to get a firm handle on Hebrew, the cow paradigm, the strong verb paradigm is a great place to start. And we're going to gain some vocabulary words along the way. You've already got cow, the basic verbal sense. And I'm going to be very boring and conventional and use the verb that all the Hebrew lexicons use when it comes to the verbal system. It's the verb katal. I'm going to write it down here and you'll see why in a minute. Whatever you do for the best of your day. Katal. There we go. And the verb actually means to kill. I know that's dark. I don't know why they chose katal. My guess is that none of the letters are gutturals or begadfats. Because when you get to the verbal system and you have gutturals and begadfats at work, that changes how the vowels are conjugated, as well as sometimes prefixes and suffixes will lose whole consonants due to the presence of a begadfat letter or a guttural letter. So with katal being just standard Hebrew consonants, plus it's few of the letters, at least I think 1 and 10 are pretty fun to write over and over again. So katal, comets, patak, most of the verbs that you're going to run into in Hebrew in their lexical form, this is very important to make note of. I was right on the board if I had room. The lexical form of every Hebrew verb is going to be 3 ground form consonants. And many of them, I would say most, have comets, patak under the first 2 ground form consonants. We're going to look at some later, maybe in this lesson, maybe not, that are stative verbs that are designated. One is called a sere stative that has a sere on place of patak, and then there's some that have holum stative where they have a shortened holum. We'll look at those maybe today, maybe next week. But most verbs, 3 consonants, comets is the first vowel, patak is the second. That's going to be the lexical form. When you're looking up a verb in your holiday lexicon, you're going to want to look for just the 3 letters when you're parsing to get the meaning. After you've removed your prefixes and your suffixes, lexical form is what you're going to be looking for. And as we get into verbs more and more, your vocabulary will expand. You'll recognize, memorize some. But anyway, this is katal in its lexical form. It's also very important to note that the lexical form of every Hebrew verb is always in the third person, masculine, singular. He killed. We can pretty sure most of us are pro capital punishment, at the very least pro hunting, people eating tasty animals. So we'll think of killed in this terms of we should go out and get dinner. He killed for his dinner. Third masculine singular, katal. There's no prefixes, there's no suffixes on katal. There's different ways to write the paradigm. This is the way I learned it. Some people write it all the way down. I could have done that. Maybe it would be easier on cameras and people trying to see, but that's the most basic form. There's some slight changes when we get to the third feminine singular. I'm going to write in red to help you out. Hope it helps you out. So you can see, again, this is nothing we haven't seen before. There's your third feminine singular, she killed. Think of Yale with the tent peg driving through the guy's head. She killed. It has the comets hey, a very common Hebrew ending. We've already seen it before in our Hebrew noun paradigm, if you remember that. So this is nothing revolutionary. And because you have the ending attached with the comets and the hey, you have a shuvah underneath the tet now, because the vowels, and you'll see this with every conjugated verb, you'll have the vowels contract with each other, they'll be pulling away from each other, fighting over different consonants, and different vowels are going to be stronger than others, and you'll have shuvahs appear, vowels will sometimes change, but what you're going to look for is your ground form. So there's she killed. Now let's look at the first person common singular. Oh, I want to mention also, all these endings for all the verb tenses are all the same. So if you learn the tenses with the cow, then when we get into other verbal tenses in the Hebrew, such as the nifal, pial, pruel, hitpael, hifil, and others, the endings, the suffixes and prefixes are all going to be the same. So that makes our work a lot easier. Now, the endings are the same, but as far as attaching themselves to the ground form consonant, that is going to mean there's going to be some vowel changes, like we just mentioned. But the prefixes and suffixes themselves are always going to be the same. So that should help you identify the Hebrews weren't into being too complicated. At least I don't think so. All right, so for our first person common singular, excuse me. Itself. My red marker out. There's a balancing act over here. May have to take him to go out while I was going to say. So sorry for later viewers. We might have just a tad bit of glare there. Okay. For the first common singular, you have this ending. You have the shuvah underneath, the vowels in the ground form all stay the same. But now you have a shuvah with the tav, and because tav is begat kefat, we have dagesh line, here at yud. Katal ti, I kill. Just basic verbal sentence, or I kill. I kill. Katal ti. Then we get to second masculine singular, and you guys are going to recognize this ending. You all have seen it before. I said when we got to verbs, y'all are going to be glad if you learned your demonstratives. You have the tav with the comments. He kills. So that's exactly the same ending that we saw for our demonstrative. So again, the second masculine singular demonstrative, same thing with the verb. So there you go. Nothing new, scary there. Now, the second feminine singular is similar. these tavs have doggish leanings. The tav with a shavad instead of a comments. So again, same suffix as we saw with the demonstratives. So there you go. Katalti, katalta, katalet. You have a vocal shavad there. Katal and katla. So they sound a little different, but there's your suffixes for the cow paradigm in the singular. And then we have in the plural, and the plural is good because in the third person, you have just one. We'll start with the first person over here. And again, no surprises in the plural if you learned your pronouns. What do you think the ending is going to be? You're already looking at your there you go. Katalnu. You have the nun with the shurek, which is exactly, you remember the big old long word anachnu? Big old long word that means we? Well, it's got the same ending as anachnu. Got the nun with the shurek. We kill. It's in the plural. First common plural, we kill. Now, the second masculine and the second feminine, again, just like in the singular, they are plural with similar, or they have similar meanings in the plural as well. Wrong marker. Katal 10. And we have, instead of, if you'll notice, instead of a comments under our cough, we have a shavad. That's due to the pulling of the segol, causing some of the vowel shifting to take place. But there you go. You still see ground form still there. Have a big old ending. You have the tav with the segol, and then the final form mem. Now, the second feminine, very similar.
So what is that phrase in English?
That would be it would be y'all kill. Be the second masculine plural. You kill, but because that's hard, the you is hard to distinguish in English between plural and singular usage. So y'all kill, you kill, but it's plural. And then the feminine, almost exactly the same, except instead of final form mem, we have final form none. So, lots of regularity there with the second person plurals in the cow.
So how's that one pronounced?
Katal 10. And then in the third person plural, which is the same for both, and the context will tell you which gender the subject has, if it's male or female. have cot, lube. We just have assured for the third common plural. Cot, lube. And that's going to be regular for, these are going to be regular suffixes for all Hebrew verbs. So, I'll say it once more, and I guess I can't be clear. Know them well. If you want to make use of Hebrew days, which I'm assuming that you keep coming back and you do. So, that's the cow paradigm in singular and in plural. And this is the perfect. This is the cow perfect. There's going to be other verbal tenses such as the imperfect, the imperative, the cohortive, the jussive, infinitive construct, infinitive, absolute, and participle that are going to be equivalent to English in a lot of ways. English doesn't have a jussive, but this is the cow perfect, the most basic verbal tense. And you can substitute almost any lexical form that's three-bound from consonants, which is almost all of them, and then the ones that begin comets, patak. You can play with it, interchange those. Sometimes they'll have gutturals and gadgafats that may change things. But this is the most basic one, katal, and there is the whole paradigm. So, if you memorize this, I'll be very, very impressed and grateful. So if you have anything left, go ahead and grab that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do two different stated verbs, and then we'll take a look. This is the regularity of the Hebrew. We're going to leave the suffixes up there. Everyone going to be conjugated slightly. Right there. We'll do a stated verb. Now, in a state with a stated verb, you have not so much the subject acting, but it's more or less the verb is stating something about the subject, kind of like an adjective. So the most common one that's used is the verb. My lexical form here, ah. Go ahead and put it up here. This is the lexical form. It does have 3 begadgafat letters, actually. How about that? Kaved. Kaved. And this one is an interesting one. In the Hebrew, it means, I'll give you the definition and I'll explain it as you laugh. To be heavy or to be glorious. Now, they're not talking about fat looks really good is glorious. What they're meaning is glory, the idea of glory is something weighty. Is the idea behind the Hebrew word here. C.S. Lewis almost had a redundant term, the weight of glory. Well, in the Hebrew, that's the same thing. Glory is weighty, weighty is glory. Kaveh. So, to conjugate this one, so the verb kaveh, to be heavy or to be glorious, as a stative in the first person common singular is, it sounds kind of narcissistic, but I'm glorious, I'm heavy. And it's just stating something about the subject. The stated verbs are going to be recognized by the presence of a serif underneath the second ground form consonant. The stated verbs always appear with this. I say always, there's the holding state, of which we'll cover in just a minute. So, to put all our, let's see, I'm in Greenberg now, to put all of our endings on these guys, the stated verbs actually do change. They're identifying stated vowel. It goes to a potok. And you add these suffixes to it. So there's I am heavy, or I am glorious, and then another one down here. Same thing, we have patak, we have shava, same ending there, same for the feminine. Have that. And then, of course, I wrote the lexical form up there. For me. And then so there you go. There is the singular for a stative, the serrated stative verb. As you can see, the only one that actually maintains the serrated, the third masculine singular. But if you know the lexical form, if that's the word that's locked in your vocabulary, then whenever you see these others, you're looking at the ground form consonants. Oh, that's kavod. The vowels, they may change with the prefixes and suffixes that are present, but they're going to be, the consonants are going to remain the same, the ground form consonants. So, did he ask the question very early on, are vowels important? Yes, they are important, but in a sense, no, you want to be able to learn without them, learn to read Hebrew without them, especially if you're one of those people who trips yourself up and you're thinking, always looking for the same vowels to be present. Which, in Greek I was like that. I was looking for certain letters to always be present. So when you learn liquid future verbs in Greek, mine is blown. I couldn't learn those, and Brother Justin, he came along, he said, yeah, there are guys that have been in Greek 30 years, and they tell you the liquid futures, forget it, you're not going to be able to remember those, so I felt much better after that. So, in the plural, again, we have the same stuff going on here. Again, it all changes to patoks instead of the serrates. Again, you have these guys in the second masculine, second feminine plural. They do take the shava, just like in the strong verb. Standard fair lexical verb. So there you see, there's the regularity of the Hebrew right on my Shabbat, right? Yes, and all those things have dodges. Okay, good. There we go. So there it is. None of the suffixes changed a bit. Vowels changed a little bit. That's the serif stative. We'll go into the holum stative. Now, I'll mention this before I erase the serif statives. There's nothing really unusual or unordinary about the serif statives. As long as you know the verb is to be heavy or to be glorious, you probably already guessed, most often used of Jehovah. Then the fact that it's a stative verb doesn't really have any bearing or semblance apart from being aware that the serif within the verb is going to change. Now we're going to do the holum statives, which same thing. Everything applies to the holum stative. That applies to the serif stative. It's just two different forms that the Hebrews have. Two different lexical forms. So, we're going to use the word katon. So in the singular, the lexical form for katon is this. Ignore the suffix waiting to be joined. Means to be small. To be small. It's also a adjective meaning small. There are some verbs like we looked at tov. You guys remember tov? What does tov mean? Good, exactly. Tov is good. Good that you remember. Tov is good. It also means to be good in the Hebrew. So it's a verb as well as an adjective. Tov is good. Katon is both an adjective as well as holum stative. We have our holum up here between the final two ground form consonants, the shortened holum. It's a stative. Now let's conjugate the holum stative really quick. We're in the singular. Now, one thing we have to change right away is that's the final form of none. That's not going to work. We start attaching suffixes to final forms. Those have to be changed to regular nuns. Make sure this is right. Don't write that down yet. Make sure it's right. Yeah, that's it. You go ahead. That's the first common singular. And then we saw katon earlier in the lexical form. So just writing words with the patak in the consonant. Change stuff up there. It's a third finger to look like in the whole state. Good. Now for our plural forms, take Dr. Greenberg with me. Now this first common plural for the verb that we're using. There's some special conjugation going on. It's not too fearsome. instead of having two nuns back to back, how do we designate two Hebrew letters? We just put a dagesh in it, just like that. Because the nun is not a Gad-Kefat, that's obviously going to be a dagesh forte. You all do that. So there's the first common plural, and then in the holum statives, in the plural, these guys lose their holum. Actually, I know an identifying mark, it's gone. And they take a comments underneath the ground form consonant. Middle ground form consonant, that is. Cheat a little bit, right? Keep you backwards. Proportions, right? There we go. I'll put that call. Okay, so there you have it. There is a holum state. Again, all these just mean to be small. So in the first common singular, it's I am small, you are small, he is small, she is small, we are small, you are small, they are small. Just like in English, first person, second person, third person, all of course all the same. And there is the holum statives. Again, the holum statives and the serif statives, nothing really remarkable. Some slight vowel changes. Just learn the lexical form to know that that's a stative to be small. The stative verbs are going to be in the lexical definition. They're going to include the phrase to be and then the adjective. So there you go. Everybody got that paradigm down? So you've got a few words in your vocabulary already, but we're going to do just a few more. We have a few minutes left, and I brought a few. And I want to get up to the verbs in our vocabulary, so that we have those locked away. There is the cow paradigm. The endings are vital, essential, if you want to make any use of the Hebrew verbal system. Because they're going to be regular. So it's not like you have to learn this paradigm and get to another verb tense. You have to learn a whole different set of suffixes, not so in the Hebrew. These are the only ones you need, so you need them. Alright, now on to vocabulary. Get a few of those in. We've got about 5 minutes or so. Y'all heard of the bar mitzvah before. Our first word is going to be mitzvah. We have an unusual vav functioning as a consonant here. It's not a holum. You know, it's a consonant because it's actually got a vowel underneath it. It's not a holum or a shurek. Mitz, silent shabbat, mitz, va. It means command. Commandment. Different from Torah, which meant law. This is individual commandment. We'll see it with the plural ending. You know, when the Lord tells Israel, why did you not keep my commandments? So on and so forth. Mitzvah, commandment. I'm not sure, Mom. I actually just looked that up before I got here and failed to do so.
I know ba is for the feminine, bar is for the masculine, but I didn't know.
Yeah, it has to do with like coming of age type stuff. They give their bar mitzvah speech. Not up to where I need to be on my Jewish culture. We have the Hebrew word atah. Very simple sounding word. This is one it took me a while to learn, but it's almost too simple sounding. Atah. Now we have a dagesh forte in this begad kafat letter. How do we know it's dagesh forte? How do we know that's a dagesh forte? I went ahead and told you what it was. Now I want you to explain to me why it is. Exactly. There's a short vowel before it. So at, we would parse this one. At, A-T, ta, T-A-H. There's two T's because that tav is double. Ata, it means now, after all, at last. You get the picture.
Like a bar mitzvah, it says, means literally son of the commandment, and bat mitzvah, daughter of the commandment.
There you go. Son of the commandment. Bar mitzvah. Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Little bonus there. So there is atah. That's when somebody declares atah, sometimes it means finally, about to act. Usually it's a declaration. The Lord's about to do something. Alright, a couple more. We have coal. This one's a important one. Means all, each, or every. This one appears quite a bit. Almost 5,500 times this word appears all over the place. It also frequently appears this way. Sometimes it will appear with the comments underneath it instead. But the lexical form is with the short hold. So don't mix those. Don't mix up the lexical form with the other form that's commonly inflected. All right. We'll do one more, and it's actually a preposition that we did not do last week, or a couple weeks ago. We did prepositions. But it's a good one. It's good just to know the lexical form. It's a patok, and it means in the midst or middle. Patok. We have a dagesh line. Begad kafat, no vowel preceding it. We have a vocalized shabbat, same reason. There's no vowel preceding it. But in the midst or in the middle. We will close on that one. Not as much vocabulary today, but we got the verb suffixes down in the cow, which is important. Those suffixes in the perfect, because in the perfect, for all the other verb tenses, they're going to be the same. So let's go ahead and close in prayer. Our Father, we thank you for this day, time together. Your people worship you. Pray that you be with Pastor Will as he stands in the pulpit to declare your word. Pray that you give to him power by your Holy Spirit. Help us to understand the teaching that he brings. Pray that you would glorify your Son. Let us see more of his glory in your